Caring Review print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QandReview.com. That is INFORMATION@CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 8th of August, from the news section. Boy who dreams of playing for Celtic has revolutionary device fitted. Article by Gillian McPherson. A schoolboy has become the first child to get a revolutionary hearing aid fitted at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow, RHCG. Lewis Williamson, who was born with a deformed right ear with no ear canal, has conductive deafness on one side. The rare condition is known as microtia, and the 7-year-old has been waiting to receive a piece of technology described as game-changing. Last month, he was finally fitted with the new cochlear ossia system, which is a magnetic implant placed under the skin and hearing aid processor fixed above the skin with a corresponding magnet. Mum Claire told the Glasgow Times, "We have been waiting 3 years for this operation due to funding, and then everything happened quite quickly in July. It's called a BAHA bone-anchored hearing aid. It's basically a magnet under the skin drilled into place. It works by bone conduction. It's the upgraded version of the BAHA, and it's just more flush to the skin. As you can imagine, this operation will be life-changing for him. It's not the first BAHA surgery at Glasgow's Children's Hospital, but he's the first child to get the ossia magnet implant there. The new type of device allows better transfer of sound and, because the implant is under the skin, there is no need for regular cleaning and there is no risk of infection around the implant site. With a lower profile to the head, the ossia is also more aesthetically appealing to most patients." Claire, who works at the RHCG, says Lewis was excited and a bit nervous to have the surgery, but fortunately she was able to use her expertise to put him at ease ahead of the 2.5-hour operation. "I'm a theatre nurse in the Children's Hospital," explained the 40-year-old from Barrhead. "I don't do ENT, ear, nose and throat, but I knew his surgeons and everybody. For me it was like being on the other side of the fence because obviously I'm so used to doing my job, but when it is your child and you take them into the anaesthetic room and you're leaving them, it's scary. He was just so brave." Fortunately, once the anaesthetic started to wear off and Lewis started to eat and drink again, the youngster was able to go home on the same day as the surgery on July 15th. Several weeks on, his scar has now healed. He is doing well, and the soon-to-primary 3 pupil is excitedly waiting for the device to be switched on. The football-mad youngster, who dreams of playing for Celtic one day, is also back in training with Barrhead Youth Football Club and has been back at his football camp. He's just had the implant at the moment, and at the end of the month that is when he'll have the hearing aid device will be clicked into the magnet, and then that's when he'll have bilateral hearing, explained Claire, who is married to husband Colin and also mum to Amy, 12. He's really excited because he's a massive football fan. It's his passion, so it will make a big difference when he's playing to be able to hear from both sides. BYFC have been absolutely amazing with him, and they don't treat him any differently. The coaches are fantastic. He absolutely loves it. It will make a big difference for him at school as well. He goes to Cross Arthurley Primary and all of his class have been amazing. They all know he's had his operation and they're all supporting him. It's been a big deal. By sharing Lewis's story, Claire, who has fundraised in the past for Microtia UK by tackling the Paisley 10K, hopes to raise awareness of the new device and the condition. "I just want to say that it does work, and if any other children are at this stage where they need to get an implant, They should go for it and not be scared. To find out more about Microtia, go to www.microtiauk.org. That's www.microtiauk.org. And that article was written by Gillian McPherson. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 8th of August, from the news section. Fleet of classic cars proved to be a birthday surprise for 80-year-old. Report by Charles Pring. A care home resident in Newton Mearns was given a spectacular surprise when a fleet of classic cars showed up to celebrate his 80th birthday. Former civil engineer Roddy Barclay was expecting a low-key get-together with friends and family until Gartcosh Classic and Sports Car Club arrived with a raft of vintage vehicles. I couldn't believe it when I saw the cars, said Roddy. I couldn't wait to get behind the wheel of a Wolseley. It was certainly a birthday I will remember for a long time to come. It's been a wonderful day. The birthday surprise was organised by Kerry-Ann McDade, wellbeing and lifestyle coach at Newton House Care Home where Roddy lives. She said since Roddy wanted to attend a classic car show, but couldn't because of his health, she decided to bring the cars to him. We have a wishing well in the home, she said. Residents can write in a bit of paper a wish that they would like to come true, and it's my job to make it happen. Roddy's wish was to go to a classic car show, but with his health, it would have been very difficult for him to spend all day travelling and being out and about. I noticed that it was his 80th birthday coming up, and I thought, let's go one better. We'll bring the classic car show to Roddy. Kerry-Ann then set about the novel task of organising a vintage car display at the care home last month. I did some research and came across Gartcosh Classic and Sports Car Club, she said. They were more than happy to come and help us out. They do a lot of stuff for charity and fundraising events, and they helped us out completely for free. Kerry-Ann said that Roddy couldn't quite believe that all the cars were there for him. I think he was in a little bit in disbelief, she said. He was a bit taken aback. You could tell he was really appreciative. But more appreciative than anyone was his wife, who was crying a little bit. She was so happy that he'd managed to reach this huge milestone and that we'd done something extremely special for him. Everyone sang happy birthday for Roddy, which was so lovely. She described Roddy as a true gentleman with a razor-sharp wit. Roddy's fantastic, she said. He's so friendly. He's always willing to chat with you, always cracking jokes. He brings a smile to the faces of everyone he meets. He's got a wicked sense of humour. He really is a gentleman. If anybody deserves something like this, it's Roddy. And that article was written by Charles Pring and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 8th of August, from the news section. Iconic city centre building set to be demolished. Report by Nicole Mitchell. An iconic building in Glasgow city centre is set to be demolished after a dangerous building notice was served. Glasgow City Council has served a notice to the owners of the O2 ABC building on Sauchiehall Street. The former cinema turned nightclub has lain derelict since the Glasgow School of Art fire spilled over to its roof, tearing through the B-listed structure and the Jumping Jacks pub adjoining in 2018. The notice requires that the iconic front and side facades are demolished along with their immediately attached floor and roof structures, along with any other unstable, collapsed or affected and adjoining construction, fixtures and fittings as the building constitutes a danger. The notice states that work must begin by September the 30th and be completed by December the 9th, 2024. A council spokesperson said temporary restraints were installed on the building facade following the flat fire to allow Sauchiehall Street to reopen, but said it was the owner's responsibility to maintain the building. Following inspections in recent months, it was found no works have been undertaken on the building and it has continued to deteriorate. It comes after the Glasgow Times previously reported a planning application for the building has been submitted by the Vita Group to create student housing. Documents reveal the structure would have 356 student bed spaces across 4 5 and 6 bed clusters, as well as studio apartments. The primary entrance into the building would be in Sauchiehall Street, and a courtyard is also proposed. Papers stated that 212 cycle spaces would also be provided. To carry out this work, a demolition of the facade was planned due to the damage caused by the fire. The application reads, "The reports consistently conclude that attempting demolition whilst retaining the ABC1 facade presents significant and potentially unacceptable risks. It is considered, therefore, that given the poor condition of the fire-damaged facade, it is not practical to save it in full or in part." Along with the accommodation, a House of Social food hall would also be created in the ground floor and mezzanine. According to the developer, it would have 5 independent kitchens, a central bar, and a coffee kiosk, and people would primarily order online. Glasgow City Council's planning officials are reviewing the proposal, and a decision is expected by Friday, November the 1st, and the last day for comments was Thursday, August the 1st. A spokesperson for Glasgow City Council said, "The first point to note is that this notice was served to protect public safety. A dangerous building notice is served where a local authority considers a building to be in a dangerous condition and it is impacting on the safety of any occupiers or the public. Following the fire in the building in June 2018, which affected the stability of the facade, temporary restraints were installed by the council to reduce the external danger posed to the public and which permitted Sauchiehall Street to reopen. These, in turn, provided time for the owners to consider their future plans, as it remained their responsibility to maintain the building. In recent months, no inspection was undertaken due to the ongoing situation, and, with no works having been undertaken in the building, it was found that due to continued internal deterioration affecting the facade, a section of safety exclusion zone had to be reintroduced on Sauchiehall Street. As the building was continuing to deteriorate, having been open to the elements for so long, the owners were informed that a dangerous building notice would be served to address the ongoing concerns. The areas of most immediate public safety concern are the facade and the supporting timber and floor structure directly behind, and the notice is therefore stipulating the need for these to be removed. After speaking with the building owners and their representatives, the dates within the notice are considered a reasonable time for the operation specified and aiming to complete at an appropriate point prior to the festive break. These dates can be varied should the necessity later arise. And that report was written by Nicole Mitchell. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 8th of August, from the news section, Sturgeon and salmon to feature in BBC series. Report by Adam Robertson. A new BBC Scotland documentary will shed light on the modern history of the SNP. Salmon and Sturgeon, a troubled union, will feature new and extensive interviews with both former First Ministers, who will tell the inside stories of key moments during a period of electoral success for the party. A wide range of prominent figures are set to share their insights with contributions from John Swinney, Nicola Sturgeon's former Chief of Staff Liz Lloyd, Humza Yousaf, former Chancellor George Osborne, and Alex Salmond's former Chief of Staff George Aberdeen. The release date is yet to be confirmed, though it will be broadcast in the run-up to the 10th anniversary of the 2014 independence referendum. The 2-episode series will chronicle key events in the political careers of Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon and chart the story of how the SNP became the third biggest party in the UK in 2015. Produced by Firecrest Films, the series will air on BBC Scotland and on BBC iPlayer. David Harron, commissioning editor at BBC Scotland, said, "We are delighted to be bringing your audience this landmark series exploring the inside story of a remarkable political partnership. The series features testimony from those who were closely involved, as well as candid interviews with Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon themselves, and offers both insights into the political intrigue of the era, as well as reflections on loyalty and friendship, which we hope the audience will find compelling." Head of documentaries with Firecrest Films, Mick McAvoy, said, The Salmond and Sturgeon era is one of the most astonishing and dramatic periods in Britain's modern history. This series reveals the inside story of a period which saw two political powerhouses and a close group of friends and advisors take a fringe party into the mainstream and come within grasp of achieving their dream of an independent Scotland. This is an emotional tale of ambition, power and broken friendships, and it reveals the human cost of devoting your entire life to a political cause. And that article was written by Adam Robertson.
From Glasgow Times, Friday the 9th of August 2024. From Scottish News, flats and shops planned on land next to Glasgow Morrisons. And this article was written by Esther Tarnay. 4 flats and 2 shops are planned on an empty land in Glasgow. The planning application to build the properties on the corner of Gallowgate and Barrack Street in the East End. The site is currently vacant and situated across the street from a large Morrisons store and next to an existing shop. According to the proposal, the ground floor would contain the 2 retail units separated by a close. The 4 homes would be above this site across 2 floors. All of them would have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 2 of them would also have a balcony. Glasgow City Council officials are considering the bid, and a decision is expected by Friday, October 4th. This article was written by Esther Tarnay. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 9th of August 2024. From Scottish News. Glasgow bars at risk as chain to close dozens of UK venues, and this article was written by Esther Tarnay. Revolution Bars could close 25 venues in the UK after court approval for restructuring. The boss of the struggling chain said he is very pleased to have secured High Court approval for its restructuring plan, which could stave off potential insolvency. The hospitality business needed the court to sanction its overhaul, which it hopes will restore its finances after a difficult few years following the pandemic. The restructuring plan will involve ending the leases of around 25 loss-making venues, leaving the group with fewer bars across the UK. After the overhaul is completed, the company said it will operate 27 Revolution bars, 15 Revolution de Cuba bars, 22 Peach pubs, and 1 Founders & Co site, leaving it with 65 venues in total. At the end of the 2023 financial year, it had 89 sites, including 46 Revolution bars. In Glasgow, they have 3 bars on Renfield Street and Mitchell Street. It is not yet known if they will be affected by this action. Chief Executive Rob Pitcher said, "The group is now well diversified across the key brands, providing a more secure financial base, and we look forward to the future with improved optimism. We know this has been a very difficult period for all of our teams, both in our sites and in our support office, and I'd like to thank them for their support and resilience." Revolution said its trading in bars in recent months was undoubtedly impacted by the uncertainty and distraction of the restructuring process, which had been the main focus of its board of directors. But it said it had met its target of achieving about £3 million in earnings before measures like tax and interest by the end of June. The group is hoping its restructuring plan will put it back on stronger financial footing, having been affected by the post-pandemic hit to the nightlife sector. It has also said its bars were hit by the cost of living crisis, squeezing consumer finances and regular train strikes affecting its younger customers. This article was written by Esther Tarnay. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 9th of August. From the news section, man attacked in early hours in Paisley as cops tape off area. And this article was written by Lauren Brownlee. A man was attacked in Paisley in the early hours of this morning. Cops were called to Underwood Road shortly after 1 a.m. due to a 39-year-old being seriously assaulted. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital for treatment. It is believed police are still in the street as of 10 a.m. this morning, with a close taped off as part of their investigations. Anyone with information is asked to contact 101. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "Around 1:05 a.m. on Friday, August 9th, 2024, we were called to a report of a 39-year-old man seriously assaulted in Underwood Road, Paisley. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. Inquiries are ongoing, and anyone with information should contact 101, quoting reference 0163 of August 9th. And that article was written by Lauren Brownlee. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 9th of August 2024. From Scottish News, what is the real reason behind the rise in concert tickets? And this article was written by Morgan Carmichael. From Sabrina Carpenter and Stevie Nicks to Liam Gallagher, keen concertgoers have seen ticket prices reach eye-watering levels in recent years. Fans are being asked to fork out hundreds of pounds to see their heroes on stage, and we are left wondering why this is happening. In response to the public concern, the Glasgow Times has decided to investigate the rise in concert ticket prices. As we continue with the series, we are today looking at possible reasons for the rise. But first things first, where does your money actually go when you purchase a concert ticket? According to Ticketmaster, ticket costs can be made up of several factors including face value, service fees, the order processing fee, and the facility fee. Face value is essentially the base cost of your ticket, while service fees go to Ticketmaster and help them cover the cost of running its website and booking line. Order processing fee covers the cost of processing the booking, and the facility fee goes directly from Ticketmaster to the venue's box office. Donald MacLeod MBE, live music and club promoter of CPL Live, Cat House and The Garage, said ticket prices are then decided by the artist's management and agent and agreed by the venue, promoter and so forth. He added that the majority of the money raised from ticket sales, minus all costs of hall hire, production, crew, catering, security and advertising, is paid to the artist as a guaranteed fee or percentage payment, with hopefully a small portion left for the promoter. It should be noted that the venue does not set the price. So, if ticket pricing follows a seemingly structured system, what's with the rise? One word that has noticeably been thrown around between social media and gig goers is greed. Whether it is corporate greed or artist greed that people reference, the word is used, and it hangs in the air like a bad smell. But there is much more to unpack. For one, we are in the midst of a cost of living crisis, and have been for some time now. Since late 2021, a rise in day-to-day items, transport and entertainment means everyone is having to fork out more to live as they always have. Touring bands have seemingly felt the impact too. As fuel costs increase, artists' management and agents may have to up the ticket prices to match the expansion in inflation. A few years ago, singer-songwriter Santa Gold pulled her American tour due to the height of inflation, and artists like Anthrax and Little Sims followed suit. Music venues are also needing to up prices as they face a rise in running costs. A spokesperson for the SEC in Glasgow said, "Like many businesses, the SEC has experienced energy cost increases. However, we are progressing at pace with our sustainability strategy, with a clear aim of being carbon neutral by 2030 in line with Glasgow City Council's ambitious energy targets. As part of this strategy, we have a key focus on low energy technology like LED lighting, which is creating cost efficiencies." But two recent changes in the music industry could also be responsible for the surge. First off, productions are a lot different now than they used to be. Though crowds used to be wooed by a singer holding a guitar and singing into the mic, and some still are, it seems it has become the norm for singers to put on a show. Look at Taylor Swift, for example. During her Eras tour, which she has taken across the globe, the star put on a 3-hour show every night with multiple costumes and set changes. So, the more money forked out for the production, the more ticket prices must go up, as the artist still has to turn a profit. But there is also a difference in how artists make money nowadays. Once upon a time, an artist's income came from album sales alone, and tours did not bring in much. But as the industry has shifted to streaming music instead of buying it, artists now need tours and merchandise more than ever. This is because big streaming platforms like Spotify, for example, can sometimes pay less than a penny per stream. Tom York of Radiohead famously tweeted in 2013 that artists discovered by Spotify will simply not get paid, and in an interview, musician Beck said, "If I tried to make my albums with what Spotify pays me, I wouldn't make them." But a lot of people have accounted for the unwelcome rise to the introduction of dynamic pricing too. In short, dynamic pricing means ticket prices go up and up the higher the demand and bigger the online queue to get the tickets. Donald MacLeod MBE told the Glasgow Times, "An artist on sale's popularity is driven by market forces and computer algorithms, which unfortunately means many fans end up paying an absolute fortune for a ticket which is way above the initial advertised price. And part of the problem, according to Donald, is that fans go along with it." He explained, "Dynamic pricing hasn't stopped people from paying high prices. Fans will pay to see their heroes. You have to question if there's a better way to do it, and at the moment, I don't think there is. If people stop paying those high prices, some of which are horrendous, the industry would be forced to have a major rethink." It is impossible to pinpoint one reason for the soaring cost of concert tickets, because every possibility seems to play a part. But what can be said is if every factor continues the way it is now, ticket prices will seemingly never drop. Our Glasgow Times Investigates continues tomorrow. And that article was written by Morgan Carmichael.
Glasgow Times News on Monday the 12th of August. Adult Gaming Centre in a bid to open 24/7. An article written by Stuart Patterson. A failed bid to open an adult gaming centre around the clock is to be reviewed. Luxury Leisure wants to open the premises at 335 Sauchiehall Street for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It submitted the application in November last year to extend its hours from 8 a.m. to midnight. The firm has other premises in Queen Street, which does operate for 24 hours, and it said it does so without noise complaints. The council, however, rejected the bid and said it would not benefit the community. The refusal notice stated the proposal would be detrimental to residential amenity of the location due to increased footfall and noise at unsocial hours. Furthermore, the use is not considered to benefit the health and well-being of the community. The owners feel that other adult gaming centres operated through the night with no evidence of problems and see no reason why Sauchiehall Street would be any different. They state it's been operating since June 2021 with no noise complaints. The appeal statement said the council has concerns about increased footfall and the impact on residential amenity at unsocial hours. As outlined by the applicant, Sauchiehall Street is a strategic thoroughfare and a mixed-use area within the city centre with a variety of late-night uses. These established uses contribute to a higher level of background noise. As per the evidence provided, late-night patronage of adult gaming centres is relatively low. Attendees are generally individuals rather than noisy groups, due to the fact that the premises offer low-stakes gaming and do not serve alcohol. The operator said it successfully applied for extended hours for its other premises at Queen Street, using the same evidence which it said was granted. Therefore, it feels the Sauchiehall Street Centre should be judged in the same way. It said a noise assessment for the Sauchiehall Street site stated the amount of noise generated by typical Admiral adult gaming centres is modest. The area is commercial in character and there are no apartments within the building nor in the immediate vicinity of the site. Overall, the assessment concluded that there would be no significant noise impact from the proposed development. The same conclusion had been reached in the noise assessment which accompanied the applicant for change of use at the applicant's other premises at 34 Queen Street. Following the approval of the application on November the 11th, 2022, removing the hours of operation, the premises moved to a 24/7 opening period. An article written by Stuart Patterson. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 12th of August. New teachers struggling to find work. An exclusive front page article written by Charles Pring. A primary teacher from East Kilbride said that she and many others are going for months without work and may be forced to change careers, as figures show a collapse in the number of new teachers securing permanent contracts. Lauren Shepherd, who's 27, went through years of training to pursue her dream of teaching. Now she's facing a second consecutive year on effectively a 0 hours contract, unsure of whether any work will come in. To qualify in the first place, Lauren did a higher national certificate, followed by 2 years at university and a postgraduate course in primary education, all the while doing various volunteering and placement positions in schools. She said, "I remember telling a lecturer at college that I had this big plan to become a teacher. It wasn't a fleeting choice. I worked really hard to get there over a number of years, and I had a lot of experience going into it." In Scotland, teachers must complete a 1-year probationary placement before qualifying. Lauren spent her probation year teaching a Primary 1 class and did so well that she was offered a year's contract at the same school. "Once I got that contract, I thought everything would be fine after that," she said. Sadly, though, this was not the case. After her 12-month contract ended last summer, Lauren interviewed with her local council for a new role. Although she passed the interview, she was informed that there were no roles available. She was placed on South Lanarkshire supply list and told that she would be contacted if anything came up. That was in June 2023. It was not until February 2024, 8 months later, that she was offered any work, having heard nothing in the meantime. It was really gut-wrenching, Lauren said. The weeks went by, and then the months went by, and I just wasn't getting anything. I went through a period of feeling quite low. I felt like a failure. Lauren thought she was going through these struggles alone until she started posting about them on her TikTok channel and was flooded with messages from others experiencing the same thing. The volume of responses she received inspired Lauren to conduct a survey of teachers on supply lists across Scotland, the results of which she shared with the Glasgow Times. Of the 302 respondents, only 9% said they actually wanted to be doing supply work. Many said the uncertainty of the work had wreaked havoc on their lives, and the phrase "life on hold" came up repeatedly. Many also said that they were considering leaving the profession, a position Lauren also finds herself in after being put on the supply list again this year. "I've started applying for different jobs," she said. "I don't have the luxury to not work for 4 or 5 months a year. As hard as teaching is, it is the best job in the world. Being there for children who need you is so rewarding. There aren't so many people like myself who want so desperately to be in schools but can't. The children need us and we want to be there, but we can't. It's really sad. I've worked so hard to be a teacher, it feels like it's all been for nothing." Latest government figures reveal the decline in job security for newly qualified primary teachers. In Glasgow City in 2017, 73% of primary teachers went straight from probation into a permanent contract. By 2023, this had plummeted to just 10%. In South Lanarkshire, this figure went from 80% in 2017 to 22% last year. The SNP promised in its 2021 manifesto to recruit at least 3,500 additional teachers and classroom assistants. Since then, teacher numbers in Scotland have fallen by around 250, with a drop in primary teachers of over 700. Glasgow City Council announced plans in May this year to axe 450 teaching posts. A spokesperson for the Educational Institute of Scotland said that the Scottish Government was to blame. "If you look at the increasing level of additional support needs that we're seeing, increasing issues with complex behavioural needs, increasing workload, the system needs more resourcing and teachers, not less," he said. "It's not acceptable in this day and age for teachers to be working on what are effectively zero-hour contracts. The Scottish Government chooses to fix the budget. They should use progressive taxation to increase education funding. Not doing so costs society more in the long run. They were elected on that manifesto commitment. They promised it to the electorate." A Scottish Government spokesperson said, "Whilst the recruitment and retention of teachers are matters for local authorities, it's encouraging to note that over the past 10 years, the number of teachers in permanent posts has remained stable at over 80%, and since 2014, the number of school teachers in post has increased by 8%, from 49,521 to 53,331 as of December 2023. Record levels of investment are being made in the education system, with the education and skills budget growing to over £4.8 billion for 2024-2025. This includes offering local authorities £145.5 million to protect teacher numbers, supporting children and young people's education. The Strategic Board for Teacher Education is looking at issues around recruitment and retention of teachers in Scotland in detail. While the Scottish Government cannot direct teachers where to work, it's important to note that teacher vacancies arise across Scotland throughout the course of the year, and we are aware that there are areas of the country with jobs available. Stuart Nicholson, Head of Education at South Lanarkshire Council, said, "We recognise that the number of vacancies varies from year to year, depending on a range of factors. However, the Council is committed to supporting newly qualified teachers into permanent positions and provides opportunities and support for them to secure such posts. To that end, the Council also provides additional permanent posts beyond our core requirement to ensure that we can provide absence cover. This means permanent contracts for 240 teachers this session who would otherwise be without posts. An exclusive front-page article written by Charles Pring. Glasgow Times on Monday the 12th of August. Lifestyle. Glasgow Primary School launches a bid to save an iconic subway carriage. An article written by Charles Pring. Ibrox Primary School is today launching a campaign to save an old subway carriage and turn it into a learning space for children, the Glasgow Times is proud to announce. The school has set up a GoFundMe page which goes live today to help raise the funds needed to transport one of the iconic old carriages into their playground. Ibrox head teacher Fiona Young said it was a chance to do something unique and special for the children. She said the children would be just amazed if they came to school and saw it in the playground. They'd be so excited. They use the subway a lot and we use it for school trips, so it's a big part of their life. She also said it would be a fantastic way to preserve some local history. We teach the children a lot about the local area as part of our curriculum, about Ibrox and Govan and Glasgow. Having a subway carriage in the school would absolutely keep that bit of local history alive for them. It would be so sad if all the old trains left Scotland or got destroyed. Keeping one here, where we've got a subway station and such a close connection to the subway, would be great. What a cool thing it would be to have a subway carriage in our playground. It wasn't until the school started making serious inquiries that they learned that the old subway trains are being stored in a depot just minutes away. Even so, and despite train owner Stadler not charging the school any money, moving the carriage into the playground will be a serious logistical challenge, estimated to cost about £5,000. Paul Sweeney, the MSP for Glasgow, said, "It's encouraging to see that after finally convincing Stadler to remove the price tag on the old subway carriages for charitable and non-profit organisations, there's been a great deal of interest from a variety of groups in obtaining a piece of Glasgow's social history. I'm delighted that the Ibrox Primary School is fundraising to cover transportation costs to move the carriage from the SPT depot in Govan to the school grounds. Given that Ibrox Primary School is just a few minutes' walk from the subway station, it would be fitting that one of the carriages is given a new lease of life as a learning space for the school children, close to where it operated for 40 years. An article written by Charles Pring. Glasgow Times on Monday the 12th of August. Lifestyle. Increased gig ticket prices could kill Glasgow's grassroots scene. An article written by Morgan Carmichael. For a long time, Glasgow has had a rich history of supporting grassroots music while hosting some of the biggest giants within the industry. Venues like the Glad Cafe, Broadcast and King Tut's Wawa Hut, where Oasis were famously signed by Alan McGee in 1993, have acted as a starting line for many. It's no wonder that Glasgow received the UNESCO City of Music in 2008. But as more artists flock to bigger stages and arenas, and the price of a concert ticket continues to rise, like £266 for a Sabrina Carpenter ticket for the OVO Hydro, the city's smaller venues are beginning to be casually left in the dust, and it threatens to kill what we have left of the proud grassroots music scene in Glasgow. In response to the public concern, the Glasgow Times has decided to investigate the rise in concert ticket prices. Music Venue Trust, a UK-registered charity which acts to protect, secure and improve UK grassroots music venues, says the problems have already begun within the grassroots scene as a result of the ticket cost increase. Speaking with the Glasgow Times, Mark David, CEO and founder of the Trust, said, "There are people in the music industry who believe that tickets for arenas at £100, £200 or even £1,000 have no impact on the likelihood of people buying a £10 ticket for new artists at a local venue. Those people are living in a fantasy land. Common sense should be telling us that the person who just got out their credit card to hand over £120 to see the Arctic Monkeys isn't finishing that transaction and immediately checking the local live music listings to see if they can spend some more. We are in a phase of what's known in economic circles as over-harvesting, and the demands for big-ticket, big-show spend is a huge part of that problem. Donald MacLeod, MBE, live music and club promoter, agreed. He said grassroots music venues like the Cat House, the Garage, King Tut's, Nice and Sleazy and the Hug and Pint are breeding grounds where many acts and artists start and learn their craft. But sadly, due to the ongoing cost of living crisis, the low emission zone, public transport anxiety and dynamic pricing has meant that many venues have been forced to pull their shutters down. This is a major problem that urgently needs to be addressed if Glasgow wants to continue to proclaim itself as a UNESCO City of Music. The concern comes as independent music venues in the city like the 13th Note and the Blue Arrow Jazz Club have had to close their doors in recent years. And it's particularly problematic when demand for live grassroots music is growing, according to Mark. He explained, "Demand for live music is up. It's up in every sector and in every town and city in the country. People want to be part of the excitement of live music at big events and in their local community. But the challenge isn't that this new music isn't out there or that people don't want it. It's how to bring that supply and demand together in a financially sustainable ecosystem where fans can afford to see it and artists and venues can afford to present it." One of the most popular bars in the city which has supported grassroots sound for years is Broadcast on Sauchiehall Street. Logan Stewart, spokesperson for the venue, revealed his fears regarding ticket price rises and the potential decrease in grassroots music as a result. He said, "We've seen a trend across the UK towards large arena-sized events and one-day festivals featuring bigger artists. These are, by their nature, more expensive events and are contributing to a rise in ticket costs. They're also far more likely to feature dynamic pricing than grassroots music events. Tomorrow's arena and stadium-sized artists need grassroots music venues to cut their teeth and increase their profile. Without them, we will see a stark decrease in homegrown talent and the UK will fall behind culturally on the international stage." He added, "While ticket prices will be a factor in any decision made by a potential gig goer, it's important to remember that it's only part of the cost of a night out. Transport and food and drinks prices also play their part, and grassroots music venues tend to have far more reasonable prices for a pint than arenas and stadiums." So, how can we protect grassroots music amid the rise in stadium concerts? Aside from the obvious of buying tickets to grassroots gigs when and if you can, there's also the possibility of ticket levying on big arena shows and events in the future. The initiative, which was thought up by Music Venue Trust, has been discussed by the Scottish Greens recently. Patrick Harvey, the MSP for Glasgow, explained that a small £1 charge on tickets to the biggest stadium-packing gigs like the Foo Fighters and Pink at Hampden Park could have a transformative impact on the industry and Glasgow's famous nightlife. He said, earlier this year, the Music Venue Trust highlighted that just £1 from every ticket sale at gigs in Scotland's two largest stadiums would generate £1 million a year. Mr. Harvey shared the fear of losing our smaller venues due to the enormous cost rises. He added, "Across Glasgow there are fantastic venues that are feeling the strain like never before. There are iconic venues that have provided a starting ground for some of the biggest artists in the world. We need to stand with them and support them, otherwise we risk losing them for good." It would be hard to deny that grassroots music in Glasgow has not been affected by the rise in ticket prices in recent years. Nor would it be hard to say that it's not going to get worse. What would we, the fans or musicians, do without these places that give artists a space to plant their seeds? Simply, it seems, no one would have anywhere to begin, and we would be robbed of saying, "I knew them," when they were starting out. An article written by Morgan Carmichael. Glasgow Times, on Monday the 12th of August. Opinion. Knee-jerk reactions to civil unrest aren't helpful here. A column written by Mike Daly. Civil unrests on the streets of England and Northern Ireland last week was grim and grotesque. Initially, the crowds of people who gathered together were described as protesters, but this wasn't a protest. What we witnessed in the likes of Birmingham, Manchester, Hull, Liverpool, Bristol, Stoke-on-Trent, Blackpool, Rotherham, Middlesbrough and Belfast was rioting. Rumours circulated last week of similar carnage that could be headed to the streets of Glasgow, but this was untrue, and Police Scotland responded to the disinformation swiftly. The last thing we need is Cyprus sunbather Tommy Yaxley Lennon stirring things up in Glasgow. Over the weekend, I appeared on the Alex Salmond Show to make the case against knee-jerk reactions to the English riots. People are entitled to freely assemble and peacefully protest as a matter of law. However, the right of freedom of expression and free speech is not absolute and is, of course, subject to the rule of law. Rioting, looting, committing arson, criminal damage, assault and racially abusing people is criminal behaviour and can never be justified under the banner of protest. At last count, some 500 people had been arrested in England and in Belfast with respect to violent disorder, with 150 people charged with various criminal offences. There have been two main knee-jerk reactions to England's civil unrest. Various calls have been made to bring in the army. I disagree. This is criminal activity, and the police are the appropriate body to tackle such behaviour. Talk of soldiers on our streets is more likely to escalate to problems. We need cool, calm heads. We should let the police get on with making appropriate arrests, charge those who have committed the offences, and then allow justice to run its course through the courts. Likewise, calls to ban social media aren't helpful or sensible. Without doubt, many people have used these platforms to fan the flames of hatred, disseminate misinformation and stir up violence. The communications regulator Ofcom has now written to social media companies, calling on them to increase moderation of violent material on their platforms. The 2023 Online Safety Act is due to come into force next year, and it will introduce new duties to take down illegal content. In addition, it will establish new criminal offences in relation to the type of communications being made on social media sites. Scapegoating immigrants has been the bread and butter of Brexiteers, while, in truth, Brexit itself has been an economic disaster and, if anything, has exacerbated the inequalities in our society. People need homes, and we aren't building enough housing. Labour has promised to tackle this issue in England, and I hope they deliver, but where is the big strategic thinking in Scotland? I've always thought that Glasgow should be granted formal metropolitan status and provided with additional funding for housing and homelessness. The city effectively copes with homelessness across a large part of Scotland because so many people from out with the city come to Glasgow for help when they are homeless. We have been a housing stock transfer city since March 2003. The council doesn't have any housing of its own, yet for over 2 decades we've simply ploughed millions of pounds into private homeless hotels. Why has the city never been given structural funding to build and buy its own housing stock to meet the massive demand for temporary homeless accommodation? Not only would this improve homelessness services for adults and children, but it would make economic sense and save the taxpayers money. A column written by Mike Daly. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 12th of August. Plea goes out for more reliable rail services. This article is unattributed. More than 3,400 morning rush hour trains were cancelled in Scotland last year, new figures have revealed. The data obtained through Freedom of Information requests by the Scottish Liberal Democrats showed that an average of 10 ScotRail trains were cancelled every day in 2023. Last year, 2,136 trains were fully cancelled, while 1,336 were partly cut, the data shows. A breakdown of the figures shows that 1,089 services were cancelled between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m, while 1,167 occurred in the following hour. Between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m, 1,216 trains were either fully or partially cancelled. The 8:41 a.m. train from Edinburgh to Helensburgh saw the highest number of part cancellations last year, with 21. ScotRail currently has a temporary timetable in place due to a train driver's dispute. The operator is reliant on rest day working and overtime. However, many drivers have refused to accept the additional shifts because of the dispute. Beatrice Wishart, connectivity spokeswoman for the Scottish Liberal Democrats, said that passengers face endless disruption. She added, under this SNP government, passengers are having to roll the dice every day, uncertain as to whether they will get to their final destination in time, or even at all. If we're to tempt people out of private cars, they need a reliable and frequent rail service. The SNP government must get serious about ensuring all services are up and running and that trains are arriving on time. Mark Ilderton, Service Delivery Director at ScotRail, said, "Disruption and cancellations happen for a variety of reasons, many out with ScotRail's control, like infrastructure issues. In 2023, we plan to operate over 700,000 services throughout the year, with 97% of services running as planned. However, we know that trains running on time is one of the most important factors for people travelling across the country, and we continue to work hard to improve those numbers even further. ScotRail will continue to keep a firm focus on performance." A spokesperson for Transport Scotland added, "While any disruption to passengers is regrettable, the historic figures quoted by the Lib Dems fail to mention that ScotRail cancellations in 2023 and 2024 averaged just 2.3% of all services, with the reason often weather or network rail works. That's fewer cancellations than immediately before public ownership. Since ScotRail moved into the public sector, staffing has increased by 400 and passenger numbers are up by 75%, from 46.7 million in 2021-2022 to around 82 million in 2023-2024. That article is unattributed. Glasgow Times News on Monday, the 12th of August. Police Scotland to send officers to Northern Ireland amid ongoing riots. An article written by Xander Elliots. Police Scotland is to send more than 100 officers to Northern Ireland to help deal with riots in Belfast. Police Service of Northern Ireland Assistant Chief Constable Melanie Jones confirmed on Friday that the Scottish force would send extra units this week. She said, "The initial deployment will give us 4 extra units, which is in the region of 120 additional officers deployed onto our streets. This will give us a vital additional resilience that we need to continue to deal with this effectively." On Thursday, reports said that Police Scotland was considering a request to send around 120 officers to Northern Ireland amid ongoing riots in the nation's capital. PSNI Chief Constable John Boucher had said his officers were exhausted and could not stand alone to deal with disorder like this anymore. Our sister paper, The National, understands that Police Scotland has decided to meet the request from their colleagues in Northern Ireland. The news comes as the police service in Northern Ireland braces for a further anti-immigration protest and counter-demonstration after a week of violence. Queen's University has closed its campus and a number of businesses have closed their offices as a precaution following violent scenes at a similar demonstration last Saturday. There has been further disorder across Belfast during evenings since then, and 10 police officers have been injured. Police responded to several race-related hate crime incidents and other disorder on Thursday night. Ms Jones said it was the 5th night of disorder that officers have dealt with. She said that incidents included a number of reports of criminal damage to properties, a car set on fire and houses attacked. In East Belfast, police officers were attacked by a group of masked men who threw bricks and masonry at officers in Flora Street, she said. Thankfully, no officer was injured and we were able to quickly and effectively deal with the situation. ACC Jones further said that 23 arrests have been made and 15 people have been charged, who remain remanded in custody. She told the press that police are expecting a very busy weekend with a risk of spontaneous protest, as well as scheduled events such as the Apprentice Boys of Derry parade in Derry and the West Belfast Festival. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "We have received a number of requests for mutual aid, and these are being considered, balanced against the needs of policing in Scotland." As a national service, Police Scotland has the ability to flex resources where the need is greatest in order to keep people safe. An article written by Xander Elliots. Glasgow Times News on Monday, the 12th of August. Union workers slam council over neglected parks and dangerous hogweed spread. An exclusive article written by Josh Carmichael. Trade union workers are warning of a dangerous plant sweeping Glasgow's parks. GMB Scotland park conveners say that hogweed is thriving at overgrown parks across the city this summer after grass cutting was cut by 2/3 in recent years. The plant is commonly known to be dangerous and can cause severe blisters and third-degree burns if exposed to sunlight. It can even cause blindness if sap from the exotic plant reaches the eyes. John MacArthur, GMB Scotland Parks convener at Glasgow City Council, claims that hogweed is now being found in places where it's never been seen before due to the lack of maintenance from the local authority, and that biodiversity is being used as an excuse for overgrown and neglected parks across the city. He said it used to be only on riverbanks or near burns, but we are seeing it all over now. The grass is being allowed to grow and hogweed is growing along with it, and it's self-seeding. Whenever we find it or get reports, we do spray, but it's out of control now. The council claims to be supporting biodiversity, but critics say that other towns and cities have refused to adopt similar policies because the cost of reinstating and restoring overgrown parks will be prohibitive. The lack of maintenance not only reduces the ability of Glaswegians to enjoy the city's parks, but long grass can also hide other dangers such as dog fouling and broken glass. The union is now urging the council to reverse what it claims is years' worth of budget cuts in Glasgow's parks and to restore more regular maintenance. A spokesperson for Glasgow City Council said, "Giant hogweed is an invasive plant and people are advised to avoid contact with this plant. We do apply herbicides to control the growth when it's on council-owned land on locations where people might come into contact with the plant. We have a rolling programme of herbicide spraying at these locations to contain the plant, and new locations reported to us will be added to our programme. We've seen no increase in the use of herbicides to control hogweed within the city. Any concerns about the presence of hogweed should be reported to us, along with the exact location via our website. In line with national guidance and in local authorities across the country, our approach to ground maintenance has changed as we respond to the challenge of climate change. Parks and open spaces across the city continue to receive a regular grass-cutting service during the growing season, but we are increasingly leaving plots to grow naturally to help support local ecosystems and biodiversity. This approach ensures better habitats for a wide range of pollinators and small mammals, but also helps to increase the carbon stored in soils and mitigate against flooding. We recently identified 81 species new to Glasgow, which shows the positive impact that changes to grass maintenance can make. An exclusive article written by Josh Carmichael.
From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 13th of August, from the news section, Piping Makes Glasgow, report by Morgan Carmichael. A piping festival has returned to Glasgow and it promises to be unforgettable. Piping Live officially kicked off yesterday after a record number of 170 pipers and drummers from the Piping Live Big Band marched from Mansfield Park in Partick to the iconic Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum. The festival, which is now in its 21st year, will treat more than 30,000 attendees to more than 150 events across 10 outdoor and indoor venues, including Waxy O'Connor's and St Luke's, ahead of the World Pipe Band Championships on August the 16th and 17th. The world's biggest bagpiping festival will run until August 18th. Philip MacDonald, Artistic Director for Piping Live, told the Glasgow Times, "Glasgow is considered to be the heart of the piping world. They say that people make Glasgow, but so does piping. Every year the people of Glasgow are so welcoming and so open to the big band and all the events of Piping Live. There is no place like it, and this week it is the best place in the world." He added, "It's set to be an unforgettable festival." This year's Piping Live is in support of a Glasgow-based charity, Articulate Cultural Trust, which helps care, experiences and marginalised groups of young people access the tools they need to build a robust and fulfilled life. The event is sponsored by the William Grant Foundation, Glasgow Life, Event Scotland and Creative Scotland. Bailey Annette Christie, Glasgow Life Chair, said, "Bagpipes are synonymous with Glasgow's culture and heritage, and there's certainly no better place or time than Glasgow during Piping Live." The vibrant and packed programme in this year's festival offers a diverse array of piping events and activities, from the big band parade to performances and practice sessions, that really shine a light on just how versatile the bagpipes are. The huge popularity of both Piping Live and the prestigious World Pipe Band Championships at Glasgow Green demonstrate the strength of interest, enthusiasm and passion there is globally in piping, as well as the incredible talent of players of all ages. We are proud in their continued success and to be hosting them once again as they attract and delight visitors from near and far. Paul Bush, OBE, Visit Scotland's Director of Events, added, "Piping Live brings Glasgow to life with the sound of Scotland's national instrument, and it's fantastic to see that record numbers will be participating at the event this year. Communities come together around events like this and are able to create lifelong memories as a result, so I'm delighted that Event Scotland is continuing its support of Piping Live, and I'm sure that Glasgow will once again provide the perfect stage for the festivities." And that report was by Morgan Carmichael. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 13th of August, from the news section, planned bin strikes are suspended. 8 days of strike action by waste and cleansing workers across Glasgow has been suspended. Trade Unions Unite and GMB confirmed the news yesterday following committee meetings that morning. The strike action was set to begin tomorrow across 18 councils, including Glasgow, Renfrewshire and North Lanarkshire. A ballot, opening on Thursday, will begin on a new pay offer made by COSLA, which is a significant improvement on the initial offer made in May. The new offer represents a minimum cash increase of £1,292 for the lowest paid council workers, which is equivalent to 5.2% for those earning around £25,000. The Scottish local government living wage will also increase by 5.63%. Graham McNabb, Unite's lead negotiator for local government, said, "Unite members across all of Scotland's councils should be applauded for standing firm. They have remained resolute in an effort to secure a fairer and better pay offer. We believe that the new pay offer is credible. For the first time in years, it will mean all council workers receiving an above-inflation increase." Unite will now suspend the 8 days of strike action so a ballot can take place on the new offer. Keir Greenaway, GMB Scotland's Senior Advisor in Public Services, added, "This offer is a significant improvement on what came before, but our members will decide if it is acceptable. As a gesture of goodwill, we will suspend action until our members can vote on the offer. It should never have got to this stage, however, and Scotland's council leaders have again shown an absolute lack of urgency or sense of realism. For months, we have been forced to waste time discussing a series of lowball offers when it was already clear the Scottish Government needed to be at the table. The obvious reluctance of some council leaders to approach ministers, has only caused needless uncertainty and threatened disruption. That is no way to run a railroad or conduct serious pay negotiations. A minimum increase of 67p an hour or 3.6%, whichever is better, will be applied to council workers if the offer is accepted. This amounts to an average 4.24% increase for a 1-year period between April the 1st this year and March 31st next year. And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 13th of August, from the news section, taxi fares may rise by almost 10%. Report written by Drew Sandilands. Taxi fares in Glasgow are set to rise by almost 10%, and nighttime charges could be extended by 2 hours with a decision expected this week. No representations have been received after the city's licensing committee proposed a 9.72% increase to the rates and a change which will allow an extra £1.50 to be charged from 9pm rather than 11pm. It has been put forward in the hope of boosting the supply of taxis in the evenings. Changes were recommended to Glasgow City Council in an independent report by Dr James Cooper, who assessed production costs, including fuel, vehicle and insurance fees, for drivers between September 2022 and February this year. They were proposed by the committee in June and a public notice was issued. In a new report, officials stated representations could be received by Friday, July 19th, but none were made. There will be an increase in the minimum charge flag fall from £4 to £4.40, a rise in the additional nighttime charge from £1.40 to £1.50, a change in the nighttime hours from 11pm to 6am to 9pm to 6am, and an uplift in the soiling charge from £42 to £46. The proposals are now set to go back before councillors on the committee tomorrow for a final decision. Once the fares have been set, any person who operates a taxi in Glasgow can lodge an appeal with the Traffic Commissioner for the Scottish Traffic Area against the committee's decision. In the event that an appeal is lodged, the committee's decision regarding the new taxi fare scales will be suspended until such time as the appeal is dismissed, determined or abandoned, the report by officials added. Additional Christmas and New Year charges between 9pm on December the 24th and 6am on December the 27th, and 9pm on December 31st and 6am on January 3rd, could rise from £2.50 to £2.70. Currently, these charges only apply on December the 25th and 26th and January the 1st and 2nd. Consultation on the proposals was held with the trade and 325 responses were received. At the meeting in June, Robert McLean of Glasgow Taxis said the public rely heavily on taxis to get back out of the city at night time. He encouraged an increase of the nighttime charge from £1.50 to £3 to improve the availability of taxis. Last year, an increase of 19.36% was agreed following a previous review. It came into effect last April. Under the latest plans, the flagfall distance and time are also expected to be changed from 886 yards to 889 yards and 166 seconds to 167 seconds. Each additional increment could change from a distance not exceeding 196 yards to 179 yards, and the time change from 42 seconds to 38 seconds. However, the distance and time charge would remain at an increment of 30 pence. Dr Cooper concluded there had been a 9.72% increase in the cost of operating a taxi in Glasgow. His research considered a range of factors, including fuel costs, vehicle purchase and maintenance expenditure, insurance and licence fees, and the cost of low emission zone compliance. A council report stated Glasgow Taxis believes the 10p increase in the night shift charge would not be effective. The firm wants to see it rise to £3 at nights and £5 over Christmas and New Year holidays. It also suggested the nighttime charges should stop at 5am rather than 6am, as to not penalise workers who start early. Glasgow Taxi Owners Federation suggested the night charge should be changed to £2 and wants extra charges per person after 2 passengers. And that article was written by Drew Sandilands and read by me, Ian McKenna.
This is from the Glasgow Times on the 14th of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Farewell, Deacon Blue Star revealed he has lost his dog." This article is by Rosie Lewis. Deacon Blue singer Ricky Ross has revealed he has sadly lost his dog. The 66-year-old and his wife, fellow Deacon Blue vocalist and former River City star Lorraine McIntosh, tragically said goodbye to their beloved pet Alfie earlier this week. Ricky shared a tribute to Alfie, calling him a beautiful friend and loyal companion. He wrote, "We had to say goodbye to this lovely fellow today. Alfie was always closest to Lorraine. He's been a beautiful friend and loyal companion. As you know, it's only God and dogs that love you like this. Farewell, old pal." Messages of support soon flooded in, with one person saying, "I'm so sorry, Ricky and Lorraine. What a lovely boy, thinking of you." Another wrote, "Gorgeous pup." A third added, "Sad news. Best wishes to you both." This article was by Rosie Lewis. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 14th of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Glasgow prisoners should go out to shop, report suggests." This article was by Esther Tarnay. A report has suggested that prisoners at a Glasgow facility should go out to do their own shopping. This is one of the recommendations made by His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prisons for Scotland, HMCIPS, following the inspection of the Lilius Centre. The North Glasgow institution, which houses 24 women, was surveyed in February last year, less than 2 years after opening. It is a community custody unit with a far greater emphasis on reintegration and rehabilitation by using custody in the community rather than the traditional idea of jail. Published today, the report is overwhelmingly positive, praising the facility for making the inmates feel safe, respected and supported. Documents also said the inspection team were impressed with the management, staff and prisoners in developing what will be seen as an example of good practice in penology. We welcomed the ambience that was calm, relaxed and good-humoured. However, a few areas of concern were highlighted and recommendations were made. The first one was to allow prisoners to go out to shop for themselves. Another issue raised was the use of routine body searches, which could be both re-traumatising and degrading for the women, the authority argued. It suggested that these should only be carried out where it's intelligence-led. HMCIPS said it was also keen to see the prisoners having access to computers, receiving individualised health care if they have long-term conditions, and be trained in activities that are a risk to health and safety, such as food hygiene, cleaning and more. In total, the body made 22 recommendations for the facility to support its inhabitants better. The report also read, "There is much to admire about the modern, relaxed ambience created by the building, and the ethos of a trauma-informed approach, which is testament to the vision and values of the SPS's National Strategy for Women in Custody 2021 to 25. This article was by Esther Tarnay. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 14th of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Huge musician to host Glasgow gig to celebrate iconic album." This article was by Ben Waddle. A huge British musician is set to host a gig in Glasgow to celebrate an iconic album. Dizzy Rascal will perform at the O2 Academy in the city on Sunday, October 20th, 2024. The UK rapper, real name Dylan Kwabena Mills, is hosting the concert to celebrate the 15th anniversary of his most iconic and commercial album, Tongue in Cheek. The 39-year-old singer-songwriter is known for his hits, including Bonkers, Dance With Me, Baseline Junkie, Holiday, Don't Gas Me, and many more. Tickets for the event will go on sale from 10 AM on Wednesday, August 28th. This article was by Ben Model. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 14th of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Major company opened 75,000 square foot warehouse near Glasgow. This article is by Rebecca Newlands. A major company has opened a new 75,000 square feet warehouse near Glasgow in an expansion plan. Tyre distributor firm Michel Dever Tyre Services, MTS, has moved from its original depot in Airdrie to a new facility in Bells Hill, which stores 90,000 tyres as the operation grows. Dubbed the Connect 70 development, the warehouse has sustainable features including EV charging points, 15% roof lights, roof solar panels, and air source heat pumps. It is hoped that these new updates will reduce long-term energy costs and support the company's goals towards sustainability. The move is expected to bring with it many future job opportunities. MTS Logistics Director Dave Haddock said, By moving to this fantastic new depot, our customers will have direct access to 3 times the current stock level and nearly twice the range of tyres compared to Airdrie. The Bells Hill investment shows how seriously MTS takes its Scottish business and how much we value our customers. With the increase in the size of the facility, we also expect to employ more staff from the local area. Additionally, we expect to reduce our carbon footprint by 50% in 2030 and hope to reach 100% by 2050. The latest technology will help us reach these goals. The transfer will also provide local garages and franchise dealers greater accessibility to a range of tyres, including those for electric vehicles, vans, 4x4s and motorcycles. Being a larger space and a location with good motorway links will further boost the business's connections to customers and clients and ensure they meet the demand for same-day or next-day deliveries. This article is by Rebecca Newlands. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 14th of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Woman hit by car down Glasgow Lane already lying there. This article is by Rebecca Newlands. A woman who was hit by a car in a Glasgow lane was already lying there, it has been revealed. We reported that a huge emergency services response was called to Wellington Lane in the city centre on Tuesday afternoon after the woman was struck. A police cordon was in place with numerous officers standing guard, while fire crews and ambulance teams were also spotted on the scene. Now it has emerged there was concern for the woman who was lying in the lane moments before the incident. A witness told the Scottish Sun, I heard there was concern for the welfare of a woman down the lane moments before she was hit. I don't know what's happened, but I'm hoping it hasn't ended in tragedy. There were cops on the scene very quickly, and the whole area around Waterloo Street and Wellington Street was cordoned off. It was shocking to see so many emergency vehicles in one area, but whatever happened, it's obviously not good. Another onlooker said, I've not seen this many cops in the city for a long time. Something serious has definitely happened. It looks like it might be something tragic might have happened. A Police Scotland spokesperson said Wellington Street has now reopened after a woman was struck by a car on Wellington Lane around 2:40 p.m. on Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Emergency services remain in attendance and inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances. Police Scotland has been contacted for further comment. This article was by Rebecca Newlands.
Evening Times, August 14. Opinion. Ian McConnell says, good news for those keen to see Scottish economy flourish. There was much to be cheerful about from a Scottish perspective in the Royal Bank of Scotland's latest Growth Tracker report published this week. Scotland's performance was not stellar, and the nation was not as high in the UK league table as it has been in the recent past. However, it was firmly in the top half of the table of UK nations and regions when it came to growth of the private sector economy in July. This was most encouraging after a sharp slowdown in expansion in June, which came as a bit of a surprise, given the broadly consistent relative strength of the Scottish economy in a UK context in recent times in the Royal Bank survey. Furthermore, Scotland's progress on several other key measures was also good news, at least from the viewpoint of anyone who wants to see the nation flourish, with all that means for living standards. That said, we should bear in mind that the idea of Scotland prospering seems to be anathema for some hidebound by political views. There was a rise in optimism among Scottish companies in July about the prospects for increased activity on a 12-month horizon, the survey revealed, and increases in confidence were recorded in both the services and manufacturing sectors north of the border. The improvement in optimism in manufacturing was perhaps particularly welcome, given this sector recorded another decline in activity in July. Manufacturers, and particularly exporters, have of course not had their troubles to seek in recent years because of the loss of frictionless trade with the UK's largest trading partner, the European Union, and broader European Economic Area. Many manufacturers have also reported that the loss of free movement of people between the UK and the EEA has fueled skills and labour shortages. Of course, it is important to note the loss of this valuable source of labour has also hit service providers in Scotland and of course in the UK as a whole. Scotland's hospitality sector, for example, has consistently highlighted the difficulties created by Brexit. The Royal Bank tracker also shows a renewed upturn in new business inflows for Scotland's private sector, and it signals the private sector economy north of the border last month enjoyed an acceleration in employment growth. The Royal Bank survey shows Scottish private sector growth accelerated in July, with the country ranking 5th among the 12 UK nations and regions. The headline Business Activity Index for Scotland rose to 52.7 last month from 51.9 in June on a seasonally adjusted basis, coming in above the level of 50 deemed to separate growth from contraction for a 7th consecutive month. This run of overall private sector growth is a significant achievement given the dismal UK economic backdrop. We should bear in mind that on the basis of official data, the UK economy fell into recession in the final 3 months of last year. While it emerged from recession in the first quarter, the UK economic picture has in recent times essentially been one of protracted stagnation. Only Northern Ireland, South West England, London and South East England recorded stronger private sector growth than Scotland in July, according to the Royal Bank growth tracker. Of course, the economy in Scotland is not firing on all cylinders, and this should come as no surprise to anyone, given the UK's economic predicament. The UK economy has been hit hard for so many years by the Tories' ill-judged austerity, which we should recognise is an ongoing thing and a key driver of poverty for millions of households, not just those out of work, but also for many in employment. Also weighing down the UK economy is the enormous and ongoing damage from Brexit. And while other countries have also suffered from surging prices in recent years, the UK's inflation crisis was so much worse than that in so many nations. Brexit, of course, played a key part in exacerbating the UK's woes on this front. The road ahead looks challenging for the economy in Scotland and the UK as a whole. The main levers which could stimulate growth are of course at Westminster. The Scottish Government, though its economic agencies, can play a part in maximising inward investment, and Scotland has done rather well on this front in recent years. However, the big economic levers are not devolved. Labour, while its attempt to boost house building and its plan to improve employment rights after so many years of Tory rule are both welcome, has not come up with anything that would suggest it can deliver a meaningful boost to UK growth. In fact, it has hemmed itself in on two key fronts. It has shunned rejoining the European single market, something that would, if it were achieved, provide an enormous boost to growth. Labour has also pledged to stick to the Tory fiscal rules, limiting its capacity to stimulate growth through investment and thereby boost tax revenues. This backdrop, while somewhat dismal, makes it all the more encouraging that Scotland's private sector economy is doing okay in difficult circumstances. The sharp decline in private sector growth in Scotland in June was most unwelcome. However, publishing this week's growth tracker, Royal Bank noted the latest Business Activity Index reading for Scotland signalled a solid start to the third quarter. Judith Cruikshank, who chairs Royal Bank's Scotland Board, said, "The Scottish private sector signalled a solid start to the second half of the year, backed up by a strongly performing service sector. Moreover, optimism towards the year ahead outlook was firmly optimistic, as confidence levels strengthened on the month. Private sector employment also ticked up in July, the rate of job creation quickening from June. It should be noted that the rate of employment growth in Scotland in July slipped below the UK average for the first time in 12 months, even though it strengthened. However, this fact also highlights how consistently strong employment growth in Scotland was in a UK context in the 12 months prior to July. And the advances by the Scottish private sector last month, in terms of the acceleration of growth, the increase in optimism, the renewed upturn in new business inflows, and the faster rate of increase in employment are surely positives, says Ian McConnell, Group Business Editor.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Tune Review and to tell your friends about our service.